welcome to the B2B Growth Blueprint podcast, where we talk with entrepreneurs, founders, and leaders at B2B services, tech, and SaaS companies to learn the systems and processes they've used to create success for their business. We'll also learn from marketing and sales experts to provide insights to help you grow your business. I'm your host, Mark Osborne, and the podcast is brought to you by Modern Revenue Strategies and their 10x ROI B2B growth guarantee. Schedule a free diagnostic call to learn the fastest path to double your B2B revenues in just 90 days. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the B2B Growth Blueprint podcast. I am your host, Mark Osborne, and today I'm very excited to welcome my guest. And I'm going to read this to make sure I get it right. She's got such a beautiful name. Sebnem Tugce Pala, or Seb for short. And I'm going to read her bio because she's done so much. She was born and raised in Turkey. She moved to San Fran Bay Area in 2016 after spending 5 years in 5 different European countries. She's one of few governmental policy wonks that can translate governmental policy into implications for technology companies. She's worked as the Director of Regulatory Affairs at Utility API and built her consulting company, which we're going to talk about, where she only collaborates with sustainable transportation and climate tech companies in a global environment. Along with her stellar team, she advises her clients on public policy and governmental relations, business strategy, grant writing, and fundraising. She's an advisory board member with Blue Dot, Zed Motors, and Coral Change as an advisory board member. She's also an angel investor in Vitalize Angels and a limited partner in Trio VC. A whole lot of stuff there. Her undergraduate is from UC Berkeley. She has 2 different master's degrees and not to mention speaks 7 different languages. So Seb, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Mark. It's great to be here, and I appreciate your time and flexibility once again.
Oh, yeah, of course. So you've got such an interesting journey. Tell us more about you and like what you're really passionate about and working on today.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you read my bio, obviously, but just long story short, I spent amazing time in Europe, and I have background in public policy, government relations. I worked there and I studied there. So previously, I worked for European Investment Bank, which is the financial institution of European Union. And I also worked for International Labor Organization in Geneva. In 2016, I moved to San Francisco Bay Area. I took some classes from Stanford on science and technology policy, how AI is creating smarter technologies, social policy, economic impacts of AI. And, like I saw the angle there, like regulations and technological improvements are not moving at the same pace. And like regulations are the key. They are the backbone of the business. And, like that was like my aha moment. And I said, okay, what about combining my background in public policy with tech? So this is how my journey in the field of sustainable mobility, sustainable transportation space. And, like since childhood, I have always had that passion, like I have to create an impact. I have to do impactful work. And I believe transportation is one of the fastest and one of the most efficient ways to do it. So, like it was a combination of my passion for creating a huge impact and like, again, my passion for transportation, like mobility space. So it's like the best of 2 worlds. So, and since then I have been working in this space and I love it. As you already mentioned, I built my own practice, my own consulting business a while ago. And I'm only collaborating with high-tech startups in this space. I have a team of 7, and like we are working with the startups and companies all over the world, like from France, from Israel, from United States, from Benin, from Turkey, from Canada. And I love it so far. It's going so well, like every day I'm hustling. But I love what I do and I'm very passionate, and this keeps me awake at nights, and this gives me all the motivation to work maybe 15 hours per day.
Well, you got such a great broad sort of diverse background. And, a lot of our listeners on the show are either entrepreneurs, founders, or operators that are in this, sort of inflection point where, they've grown their business to a certain stage and maybe they're starting to look for investment. You have such a unique perspective on that, both globally as well as here in the United States. And when we were chatting earlier, you were talking about sort of what the investment environment looks like today. And so
Mm-hmm.
today it's third quarter of 2024, and you talked about how there were some changes kind of post-pandemic and kind of leading to where we are today. Why don't you share a little bit of your perspective on what the investment environment looks like today in the sort of VC early stage investment?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for your question. So, I mean, obviously, as I have been collaborating with high-tech startups for a while now, then it comes a point, okay, you have to skin in the game and you have to learn more about investment. Like you have to learn more about investing, how to choose the companies, how to be part of angel investment communities or like VCs. And I think like this started for me 2 years ago exactly. And that being said, I became part of like Vitalize Angels. So it's like angel investor community that I really love. And so far, I have invested in 10 startups. So basically, they choose the startups for us, and there's a threshold, like when it comes to an amount. And when we hit that threshold, we became part of that startup. Basically, we are investing in that particular startup as an angel investor. This is the first case. And the second case is last year. I'm so proud of to say that I became a limited partner for Trio VC, which was founded by three amazing women in Miami, in Florida. And they are mostly targeting Turkish startups, uh, like startups founded by Turkish founders or like with an origin in Turkey. And they just want to support these startups and they want to help them grow their business and scale their business in the US. And this is my very first time experience as a limited partner. I love it even more because like this opens more doors for me. I mean, this also scales the conversation when I'm speaking with startups or like other investors or like let's say venture capital firms. So when it comes to investment scenario or like the current situation, things have changed a lot with the pandemic. So from my own perspective, I can clearly tell you there is a clear line between before pandemic and after pandemic. You know, um, in the beginning of the pandemic, I think in Q1, people and in most cases like startup founders or like investors, they don't know like what kind of a future lies ahead,
Sure.
like they didn't
A lot of
know.
uncertainty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Lots of uncertainty, lots of ambiguity. They didn't know what to do. And then like they saw some other investors like they are their peers are investing actively and they felt all that FOMO, you know
Okay.
and I think like this was we have seen an amazing increase in investments. So like VCs were being very generous because like they didn't want to miss the opportunities. They didn't want to fall behind.
Uh-huh.
And again, that lead to an amazing increase in valuations. And with all those valuations, with all that hype, most of the companies have announced their IPO with specs.
Yeah.
And this created a huge bubble. And
Well,
right now, we are experiencing the adverse impacts, like negative impacts of that bubble,
gotcha. That
unfortunately.
bubble's kind of bursting.
Exactly. But maybe this is an opportunity in disguise, because like again, right now maybe I can clearly see that like investors are being more cautious, they are more attentive, and they are just making sure that like they are taking the right steps.
Sure.
So, and they are looking for startups which have traction
Uh-huh.
and which have found the right product, which have built an amazing team, So these are the stuff that I can tell you about the current situation in the investment world.
Really interesting. Well, and also like if you think about kind of the macro factors, like, for decades, we essentially had free money because the interest rates were so low, which led to a lot of investing based on spec and a lot of investors not wanting to, get left behind. But since interest rates have raised, it's really put a lot more emphasis on making the right investments. They're going to have that fast return. And it's interesting that you talk about, traction where they've really got that product market fit, and they're really delivering not just an idea but actually a business. So as companies that might be listening, or founders, entrepreneurs, as they're thinking about how to attract investment in this type of environment, how do they demonstrate that they do have traction? What's the right way for them to really show we're not just an idea? We have the things that make us, valuable in this environment.
Yeah, exactly. To start with, these days we are mostly focusing on software companies because investors, they really love that flexibility and agility, adaptability, like these are the core values. And that being said, like you can pivot easily, first thing first. And the second thing, as I told you before, they are looking for traction, but there are some ways to build that traction or like have that traction. And I believe in most cases, this comes from relationships. And again, like having the right product, like product fit.
Mhm.
And again, like choosing the right investors as well, you know, and choosing the right market, like that we have already mentioned. So, for example, what I can tell or like highlight from my previous experience. So this is my 2 cents for the startups. You They shouldn't jump in, like they should also make sure that like they are choosing the right investors, because like this is like choosing your husband or your wife.
Sure.
This is like a marriage. So this is not something that you can get divorced easily. So, okay, you are looking for an investment, but you have to make sure that like your VC or your investor has relevant experience, expertise, and they have the right or like beneficial relationships for you,
Yeah.
because like they will be the gate for you, like they will be opening their doors and they will be making some intros for you. This is the first thing. And the second thing is you have to check whether like your venture capital has invested in the right companies, like they have a good track record, because like they portfolio companies can potentially be your business partners, right? And again, the third thing is I think like we can largely talk about networking,
Mhm.
with that investment, like with that accelerator, with that angel investor. This will also lead to another thing, like it will also create their own wind, and it will come with that.
Interesting. One of the things that we've seen, I'd be curious about your perspective on this, is that it's a lot easier for VC or even angel funds to come in to a company when they can really demonstrate that they've got systems. So it's not
Mhm.
just that they got lucky or they had a connection in an industry that led to one big client, but
Yeah.
they actually have a system for attracting the right prospects, accelerating those best opportunities to the sales pipeline, activating clients to reduce churn, to activate sort of growth. And when they have that sort of written down in a really concrete way that they can demonstrate, it's not just luck, it's not just some
No,
connections that we had, but we actually
exactly.
have a system that scales. That makes it a lot easier for investment dollars to come in.
Exactly. I mean, you have to invest in those relationships and networking, like meaningful conversations, authentic relationships. I mean, after all, like business means relationships, right?
Yeah.
You have to know how to build those relationships and keep them and like maintain them and leverage them later on. So, I mean, as an angel investor, I'm making intros for the companies that I have invested so far. through Vitalize Angels, and like this also applies to my experience with Trio VC,
Yeah.
because it's all about warm introductions. It's all about who you know. Because idea, okay, that's great. You can have it. Everyone has an idea, but how you will put into practice, how will you build that team, and how will you benefit from existing relationships? If not, how will you build those relationships, right? I mean, after all, like we are human beings and we are emotional, you know. You can have the right product, you can tap in the right market, but if you don't know how to survive there, like you can't generate any traction and you cannot build a good business there.
Yeah, that's really interesting to think about, not just sort of having a business plan of, well, if you were to invest, here's how we'd spend the dollars, but also if you were to invest, here's how we leverage your network, and talk
Exactly.
about, the portfolio companies that might exist, the potential partnerships, or how you could add value to those companies in the portfolio, or how they could add value to you. So that there's really this synergistic relationship beyond just the dollars, and actually into the business platform as well.
Exactly. And also like some funds are very specific, you know, some love sustainability, some love fintech, some love healthcare, some love infrastructure AI. So based on your technology, you have to do your research, definitely do your homework first. And then you come up with a list. You should make sure to have a target list.
Yeah.
And then maybe you can reach out to those VCs and, you know, like have the introductory call them. I mean, even like getting on the call takes a lot of time and effort, so I completely understand. But you have to make sure that like you are prepared for that and you have the right team, you have the right product, and again, like you have that passion, passion is the key.
Well, and it's so interesting you talk about this ability to be agile, and the design thinking that is it's now so prevalent that even and probably a decade or so ago, it was just kind of getting there, but it was the new way to do things. Whereas now it really is the way.
Yeah,
And on this show, we have a lot of sort of early stage entrepreneurs and operators that come on, and all of them talk about, getting out of the building and getting that feedback from customers and how that shapes everything that they do on an ongoing basis. And the ability to have systems that allow, and obviously we have a perspective on marketing and sales being a really important part of that, but having a system where you're not just out there doing a demo, you're using every demo opportunity to learn more about, well, what features would they want, what's the
exactly.
consistent theme of what they ask for, and
Yeah.
really having that be integral to how you operate your business, so that you're not just, well, we go off and we build what we think people want, and then we come back and sell it. But instead, we have a system in place that allows us to get intel from the marketplace to then guide our product vision to take it where the market really wants it to go.
Yeah, right. Totally. I totally agree with you, Mark. Yeah, right on.
Yeah. And we actually see that's one of the most important things that companies can do in the marketing and sales space is attracting those right prospects, because the
Mm.
ones that kind of align with your product vision of where you think the marketplace is going, so that you can kind of co-create and partner together, rather than, if you don't have the right systems in place, you're sort of stuck with the table scraps or the customers that your competitors don't want, and they're likely to want you to customize your product or move in a different direction from what the marketplace wants. So having those systems is really vital there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Totally
So,
agree.
so I know you're really passionate about the sort of sustainability and mobility
Hmm.
and transportation space. Tell us about something that's on the horizon in that space, or within your practice, that you're really excited about.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean it's one of the key topics these days, sustainability, clean technology, AI. These are the keywords, these are the fancy or like buzzwords, let me put that way,
Sure.
we are using these days. I'm really passionate about sustainability, as mentioned earlier, but I'm pretty niche, pretty like my expertise is very niche, or like my consulting company is very boutique. in the way that I only collaborate with sustainable mobility, sustainable transportation companies like electric scooters, e-bikes, electric vehicle charging station companies, autonomous drones, autonomous vehicles, or let's say companies that are targeting this space, this ecosystem.
Mhm.
So, like thanks to Biden administration, funding opportunities were just amazing. So it was a great way for mobility or transportation companies to generate revenue or like reduce their capex through the incentives
Mm.
and rebates or like funding opportunities, grant opportunities given by Biden administration. So what I'm seeing from my clients, they are all chasing these funding opportunities and they want to get most out of it. This is the first thing. And the second thing is I see an increase um, in, like in the like VCs focusing on only sustainability, only climate tech. So I know like at least three or five from my network funds focusing on sustainability. This is amazing. Like because it's not all about money, it's not all about business. Again, it's all about creating an impact, like doing contributing to public good, and I love it. And other than that, e-scooters, e-bikes, the market has saturated a bit, to be honest with you.
Sure.
But still, electric vehicle charging stations, or like technologies focusing on this space, they have done so much and still a lot. They still have a lot to offer. And then, like when I was a kid, I was watching jetbots and it became real right now. Like we will see electric vertical takeoff landing vehicles soon, basically flying air taxis,
Sure.
autonomously electric. This is amazing. And like we will see autonomous delivery robots, like delivery vehicles on our streets, like bringing our burrito to us,
Yeah.
which is amazing. Or like autonomous drones delivering, I don't know, packages that we can use in infrastructure, in construction. So like these are the current trends. And I really love it. And I really love supporting companies with my services, like with market research, business strategy, grant writing, fundraising, public policy. Of course, like this is a heavily regulated industry, and you have to make sure that like you are staying on top of things when it comes to regulations and legislations. So this is what I can tell you more about my practice, my services, and the current trends that I see in the ecosystem.
So interesting. Well, and obviously, like the aha moment that you described earlier of recognizing the intersection of kind of that public
Yeah,
policy as well as the technology. You're really sitting at a very interesting nexus at a very interesting time. So super
right.
interesting. So
Right.
let's say some of our listeners are innovating in this space and potentially ready for some investment. How could they get in touch with you?
So they can always reach out to me through LinkedIn.
Okay.
And I have my own website. Uh, and I can also give you my email address for sure.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes so that
Please
folks know
do.
how to get in
Please
touch.
do. I appreciate it.
So, Seb, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a super interesting and enlightening conversation. You paint such an inspiring picture of a world where there are, low environmental impact, autonomous drones and taxis taking us everywhere. And I can't wait to live in that clean world, especially being here in LA where we are notorious for our smog problems. So excited to have you on, excited for our conversation. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for this engaging conversation. So it's great to share all these insights with you. And I hope to, I hope to see each other again
All
very
right,
soon.
thanks. We'll see you
Thank
soon.
you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining this episode of the B2B Growth Blueprint podcast. We hope you've gained insights to grow your business. If you enjoyed this discussion, please rate, comment, like on your favorite platform and share to others who will find it useful. Do you know a CEO, founder, or leader at an early stage B2B services, tech, or SaaS company who would like to be a guest and share their story? Send us a note. Let's schedule a conversation.